Algebra 1, section 8-2, multiplying a polynomial by a monomial. We're going to use the distributive property. And let's remind ourselves how the distributive property works. Here's an example. I've got negative 3x squared times 7x squared minus x plus 4. Okay, so this whole term needs to be multiplied by each of these guys inside of here. So I'm going to multiply this by this, and then I'm going to multiply this by this, and then this by this. So let's multiply these two together here first. So negative 3 times 7 is negative 21. And then x squared times x squared, remember when you multiply, you add the exponents. When you multiply powers, you add the exponents. 2 plus 2 is 4. Now, that one's done. So I'm going to now multiply negative 3x squared times negative x. Negative times negative is positive. And then 3. X squared times x to the 1 is x cubed. Remember, I'm adding the exponents. Now that one's all done. Negative 3 times positive 4 is negative 12. And then x squared times positive 4, or negative 3x squared times positive 4, negative 12x squared. I keep that squared. And that is the answer for that one. All right, let's do another one. 5a squared times negative 4a squared plus 2a minus 7. All right, very similar to the one we just did. Let's do one more, and then let's do this one, and then I'll give you one to do on your own. 5a squared times, so I'm going to multiply each of these terms. Negative 5 and negative 4 is negative 20. A squared times a squared is a to the 4th. Plus 2 times 5 is 10. A times a squared is a to the 3rd. And then 5 minus 5 times 7, 35, and a squared. Okay, let's have you do one now. Negative 6d cubed times 3d to the 4th minus 2d to the 3rd minus d plus 9. All right, so you're going to need to distribute this whole thing, remember the negative, to each of these terms, all 4 of these. Okay, go. Okay, let's see how you did. Negative 6 times positive 3 is negative 18. D cubed times d to the 4th is d to the 7th. Remember, I add the exponents when I'm multiplying. Negative times negative, positive. 6 times 2 is 12. D cubed times d cubed is d to the 6th. Negative times negative is positive. 6 times 1 is 6. D cubed times d to the 1st is d to the 4th power. And then I've got negative 6 times positive 9, negative 54 d cubed. All right. Let's keep moving here. Another example. This one is a little bit more complicated. 2p times negative 4p squared plus 5p minus 5 times 2p squared plus 20. All right, so now I've got these two different terms that are being multiplied. And so I need to take this 2p, multiply it by these guys. I'm going to take this negative 5 and multiply it by these guys. So make sure that negative gets multiplied in there as well. All right, here we go. 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. P times p squared is p to the 3rd. 2p times 5p is going to get me 10p squared. Minus 5 times 2, negative 5 times 2 is 10. 10p squared. And then this negative 5 gets multiplied by that 20 as well, so negative 100. Now, when I get to this point, I see, look, I have some like terms here. P squared and p squared. P cubed, that one's not a like term to any of the other ones, and neither is 100, but p squared here. So I've got 10p squared minus 10p squared, that's just 0. So I've got negative 8p cubed minus 100, and that is my simplified version of this expression. All right, you try. 3 times 5x squared plus 2x minus 4 minus x times 7x squared plus 2x minus 3. Okay, so do like we just did. Very, very similar problem here. All right, go. All right, let's see how you did here. I've got this 3. I'm going to multiply that by all of these terms. I've got this negative x. I'm going to multiply that by all of these terms. 3 times 5 is 15. And then I've got the x squared still. 3 times 2 is 6. And I've got the x. 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Now I'm going to multiply this negative x in here. Hey.
I'll come back. You're in class?
You can come back in like 10 minutes?
Okay.
Thanks. Negative x times this 7x squared is negative 7x to the third power. So this is x to the first plus 2, x to the third, minus 2x squared plus 3x. All right, now I'm going to look for some like terms. So I've got x squared here and an x squared here. This x cubed is by itself. And then I also have this x and this x. So I've got some like terms I can simplify here. So I'm going to rewrite this as negative 7x cubed. My greatest degree is on the left. And then 15x squared minus 2x squared, that's plus 13x squared. And so I'm going to cross these off here. And then I've got positive 6x, positive 3x, positive 9x, minus 12 is what's left over. And that is my polynomial. Let's have you guys do one more. 15t times 10y cubed t to the 5th power plus 5y squared t minus 2y times yt squared plus 4y squared. Whew, this one looks crazy. Now remember, you can multiply terms that are not like terms. We've been doing that already, you might not have noticed. But we can't add or subtract terms that are not like terms. So make sure you're careful with how you distribute these. So this one's going to both of these, this one's going to both of these. And then when you're all done, there might be some terms that are like terms, or there might not be, we'll see. All right, go ahead and pause and do this one. Okay, let's try this out. 15 times this times this. Okay, 15t. So 15 times 10 is 150. And then I've got y cubed. I don't have a y that I'm multiplying, so I'm just going to leave that y cubed. T to the 1 times t to the 5th is t to the 6th. Plus 15 times 5, that's 175. I mean, not 175, 75. 75. Y squared, then t times t is t squared. Okay, so I'm all done with that one. Now let's look at this guy. Negative 2y times this guy. So that's negative 2y squared t squared. Y times y is y squared, and the t squared it just stays there. Minus, because it's negative here, negative 2 times 4 is 8, and then y cubed. Okay, now I'm going to look through here and see if there are any like terms. Look at these two. These look kind of similar here. I've got a y squared and a t squared. Okay, so these are like terms. These guys are not like terms. I've got a t to the 6th, even though I've got a y cubed here. This term and this term are not like terms. So I'm going to rewrite this guy as 150 y cubed t to the 6th. Then I'm going to combine these like terms. 75 minus 2 is positive 73 y squared t squared minus 8 y cubed. So those guys got combined. And this should be your final answer. Whew. All right, we've got 2 more to go. Example. Now this one is, we're going to solve this one. Okay, so I've got 2a times 5a minus 2 plus 3a times 2a plus 6 plus 8 equals, a times 4a plus 1 plus 2a times 6a minus 4 plus 50. Okay, this looks like a ridiculously long, crazy equation here, and that's okay. We just need to take it one step at a time. So I'm going to take this 2a, I'm going to multiply it by each of those. Take this 3a, multiply it by both of those. That 8's going to stay there. Don't forget that 8. This a is going to get multiplied by those. This 2a by these, and that 50 is going to not get ignored or neglected. All right, but I'm just going to keep getting carried on. So 2a times 5a is 10a squared. 2a times negative 2 is negative 4a. Plus 3a times 2a is 6a squared. 3a times 6 is plus 18a. Then remember that plus 8. A times 4a is 4a squared, plus a times 1 is 1a, plus 2a times 6a is going to give me 12a. 2a times negative 4 is negative 8a, plus 50. All right, we've distributed everything. Now I'm going to look for some common terms, and I'm going to kind of do this side by itself, and then this side by itself, and then I'll subtract and add across the equal sign. But for now, I'm just going to do the common term, the like terms that are on each side. So I've got a 10a squared and a 6a squared and no other a squareds. So 10 plus 6 is 16a squared. I've got a negative 4a and a positive 18a. And so that'll give me a positive 14a. Plus 8. Don't forget that plus 8. This 4a squared is the only a squared up here. So I've got 4, did I miss one? Oh, look at this one. 2a squared times 6a squared is not 12a, it's 12a squared. Whew, glad I caught that. Okay, 4a squared plus 12a squared is 16a squared. Those go away. Positive a and negative 8a is negative 7a. And then I've got this plus 50 that I want to never ever forget. Okay, now I'm going to subtract things. What I add and what I do to one side, I do to the other. So I'm going to subtract 16a squared from both sides. And those 16a squareds just go away. Oh, that's cool. All right, now I'm going to add 7a to both sides. So now I have 21a plus 8 equals 50. Now I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. 21a equals 50 minus 8, which is 42. If I divide 21 from both sides, a equals 2. There's my answer. Now I could plug all that back in to see if I got it right. And I would find out that I did. Okay, that's a lot of work, but you're going to do one on your own that's a little bit less work, but it's the same kind of principle here. D times d plus 3 minus d times d minus 4 equals 9d minus 16. All right, so same idea, a little bit less work. All right, go ahead and pause and get this one done. This is the last example that we're going to do for 8-2. Go. All right, let's distribute this d into both of these. This negative d is going to go into both of these, and there's nothing to distribute here. I'm just going to leave the right hand of the equation the way it is. D times d is d squared plus 3d. Negative d times d is negative d squared. Negative d times 4 is positive 4d equals 9d minus 16. Okay, I've got a d squared minus d squared. So those two terms just cancel each other out to be 0. Now I've got 3d plus 4d, which is 7d, equals 9d minus 16. I'm going to subtract 9d from both sides, so I get the d's on one side, and I got 7 minus 9 is 2d equals negative 16. Divide both sides by negative 2, d equals 8. All right, hope you got d equals 8 for that one. And we are done with 8-2. Good luck on the homework.